What's up? I want to talk about unconscious patterns, like what Eckhart Tolle might call your pain body, or like in psychology, they would call it like past traumas, like regression, or any type of experience that you've had. And that stuff stays with you, okay? If you don't unwind it, if you don't find a way to work through those issues, they repeat themselves. Okay, they reoccur, and they can like manifest themselves in your life in a wide variety of ways. Like it's hard to see that when you're just like confused and like lost inside your just like everyday life, and you're like just barely able to like brush your teeth, and you're like running out the door with your bag like half filled and like your jacket's off and stuff. It's hard to ever like get deeper into those issues that are consistently affecting you. But this is really important because otherwise you're taking up like a vast portion of your energy, like of your like mental space and like your emotional capital, that's being taken up by these like unconscious patterns that are just repeating themselves. So it's like the iceberg that like 20% is at the top, and that's like your everyday life. But like 80% is like just these unconscious patterns. They're like, oh, that one time when I was in school and like, like the teacher told me I wasn't smart. And like, so it's like recurring and recurring. And it's like these things just keep happening until you actually face them and like address these things. So you have to actually like stand with that memory, with that feeling, and be like, okay, if it, for example, is that like your like junior high school math teacher told you like, no, like you're not good at math. So you keep that with you like your whole life. And so you actually have to stand with that and be like, okay, like why do I think this? Okay, well, some like my junior high school math teacher told me that. Okay, well, like, do I value their opinion? And you have to be like, well, I guess they were my teacher, but maybe they didn't really know because maybe there was like 40 kids in the class, like, and they didn't really have time to understand how I learned. Be like, okay, well, yeah, maybe that's true. Like, so maybe I'm not bad at math. And you have to like actually unwind those issues so that then it can start to manifest itself in a different way in your life now. So it can be like, it could be that from that thing that happened like 20 years ago, you're now like bad with money, or like you keep like spending more than you make because unconsciously you're like, I'm not good with money, I'm not good with numbers, I'm not good at math, da da da, and you keep replaying that. So I'm telling you, it's very much worth your while to dig down into that and break it down, right? Smooth out the resistance that you have, and you can actually like feel it in your body. Like when you get like a bit uncomfortable, like when it like hurts you, that is like that resistance, that is that like traumatic thing that took place. So it's like if every time you get like like some kind of like bill to pay, you get like the super like deep pain, you have to be like, okay, where am I feeling this? Oh, right in the chest. And like breathe into it and be like, oh yeah, okay, that's from because I thought I was bad at math and bad with money and da da da, and that keeps replaying itself. You have to like breathe into that. And as Elliot Hulse says, you have to like breathe into your balls. He says, like for men, for women, I guess different, but like you have to confront those things. And like the reasoning behind that, like why you should do that and why it's worthwhile, I covered in the last video called "Doing the Right Thing." Check that out if you need like some motivation, because you it does matter. That's what the video is about. It matters that you accomplish this task or that you face this issue in your life. Because you will, like, you'll hand that on to someone else, right? If you have like kids or your partner or your friends or whatever, you'll hand that on. Like, oh, you can't, like, you're not good at math. You get like whole generations of people who like are just convinced that like they're stupid. Like I know people who they're still convinced that like they're not smart because some when they were like 10 years old, they were told like you're in like the slow class, and they're still like, I guess I'm slow. Like, it takes forever like to unwind this stuff. And this could be anything. Like this could be like that one time you liked a girl in your class and then you were like, I like you. And she was like, no, I already have a boyfriend, or like, you're gross or whatever. These things stick with you. And you'll find yourself like decades down the road, like still like, well, I better not like leave my wife because, even though I don't like her and even though we don't even have a good relationship, I better not leave her because what if some other girl tells me I'm gross or something? Like, you'll still be afraid of that, right? Like, so it's important, man. Um, so yeah, these like unconscious patterns, pain body, you know, however you want to describe it. But I'm like definitely a firm believer in freeing yourself up from this stuff so that you have way more like production capacity, as Stephen Covey talks about in his book, the uh, seven habits of highly effective people. He talks about like production capacity, which is like your overall ability to like engage with things, and then your production. So like your production is in this circumstance like this like 20% at the top, right? If we're talking about like the math, it could be like the 20% that you're able to work with numbers and finances in your life right now. But that whole 80%, that's like your production capability. So you've got like, well, I guess actually the whole 100 is your production capability, but you're missing like 80% because it's all tied up. So you need to free more of that up. Break it up, break all those issues off, break them all down, and then you can have like this larger uh, production capability to work with. Okay. And then you're like rocking out. Imagine what you can do with that whole other 80% that's right now tied up. Oh man, you'd be like, a whole other person. And you actually would be. It's like you'd fully be another person. Like when I see people who have like changed their life, and like or someone who I'm like learning from, and I'm seeing how they're actually like responding to challenges in their life, and they're actually like surmounting them or they're adapting. It's like it's inspiring actually. Like it's like to see like a person whom is just like you. They're a human being, but they've just persisted, and you see how they stumble and are able to learn from that challenge and adapt and change. It's like staggering. Like it's like they become a different person. Like you change into someone different. Like if you only have that 20% at the top and you free up that other 80%, or even if you just free up like like another 5 or 10%, right? To give you a total of like a 30%. Even just that will be like a new person. Like you will change a lot. Where people who only knew you at that 20%, at the very tip, and they see you now changed, they will be like hard pressed to even like know where to begin to engage with you. They'll be like they won't even know what to do. They'll be like, wow, like what is this? Like they'll know something's different, but they won't think that you would have bothered to change in that way for the most part, right? They will see it as like, oh, You must have cheated. You must have like, what did you do? Are you on drugs? Like, but they don't really see that you've actually taken the time to look into yourself, right? Because it's all within, right? Your world is within, and then that changes how you interact with the outside world. And it's like a real thing, and you can define it in whichever way you want. Like you can define it as like you manifest your world, or like you are in tune with different energies, or like you attract what you are, okay? And that like your vibe attracts your tribe. All these different ways of explaining it, and you can get like as metaphysical and like woo woo as you want. And I think to some degree that can be valuable, to some degree, because I think there is a need to sort of push beyond what is just like concrete and by the book. I think there is a place for like sometimes disregarding like what common sense tells you, or what by the book tells you. I think there is a time for being like, look, this is what I believe, like this is what I feel, this is like my intuition, and just like buying into that. So there is something to it. But you also don't you don't need to like get carried away with believing some dogma, or some like metaphysical like belief systems. Like I believe like this kind of God is going to do that for me, or like I really believe that like if I like stamp my foot 10 times before I like start my car, it's going to be okay. Like you don't have to believe that stuff. Um, but you can just have your own kind of faith that by doing the right thing, as I talked about in the first video, that by doing the right thing, you're going to eventually lead yourself uh, down a path that will feel more fulfilled, more complete, more genuine. And that's what you want. Like, you want to be able to feel like at ease with yourself and not fake, right? Not incongruent. Because I must be honest with you, when you feel someone is being incongruent with you, or like, or fake, or that they are hiding something, like they have their own like internal issues that they aren't dealing with, it's quite off-putting, right? Like especially if I look like, and again, I am not the perfect person, even remotely. Like, okay, it's just that I'm trying. Like I recognize that this is what's necessary, so I'm doing it. Okay, but like when I meet someone who isn't doing that, and they're like keeping up the front, they're like keeping it up, like they don't want to they don't want to admit to themselves that they aren't facing their own demons. It's like someone who you know is like kind of just like they're kind of just like playing that they're a big shot. Maybe they have a bit of financial success and they're really like playing that up. Like, I have my BMW, like I have like a lot of money, and they're like talking about it. And there's nothing wrong with having money. Like that's great. But they're like using it as some kind of tool to like prop themselves up. If like you're face to face with them and like you're encountering them, it can be quite like disturbing, like to you. It can be almost like, I would actually go so far as to say, to a degree, it's a bit like disgusting, kind of like it's again, there's nothing wrong with being wealthy. Like it's awesome. Like I want to be wealthy. Like, but it's the like incongruence that it's like the feeling that they're kind of like false and incongruent. It's pretty off-putting. So you want to be able to like feel that. Like so, if you some of the guys I learned from work with like very wealthy businessmen, and sometimes they'll say like, if the wealthy businessman is kind of like talking too much about his money, you know, like some of these guys I learned from, they will be like, okay, like so you're just talking about your money right now, and the wealthy guy a lot of times will be kind of like apologetic for that. Will be like, oh shit, sorry, like I got carried away. Like they're almost acknowledging that, like it's kind of like a make believe world in a way, like it's great you have your money and that's awesome, but it comes to a point where it's like stop talking about that, like stop, don't become obsessed with that, right? Because you're just masking things after a while. Just be real. Human to human is more important than multi-million dollars. It's kind of like a paradox because obviously multi-millions of dollars, everyone wants that. But if you have that multi-millions of dollars, you should by then know that it isn't as important as it's made out to be. Okay, it's like if you have a very, very like physically attractive girl, it's great, like, and it's a great thing that she's attractive and maybe she knows how to like dress like very effectively and like knows how to like put her makeup on. It's like you can appreciate that like as a thing of beauty, but you also can be like, okay, that's cool and I appreciate it, but I don't like, I recognize that that's just like an aspect of life and that's just like an aspect of who you are. I don't think that like you're this like, this like strikingly like beautiful creature and that's all. Like wouldn't that be kind of boring? Like so there's more to a person, and it's like better for everyone if you recognize that. That's why if you talk to multimillionaires, like high level business people, it's better to just like recognize that they are like financially wealthy and that's great. But engage with them as just who you are and see what can you share together. It's the same with like a stunningly attractive woman. You want to acknowledge like, yes, you're a very attractive girl and like that's wicked. But can we speak on more than, can we just like engage as two people rather than be distracted? Because at a point it can be, it's like, look, the multimillionaire knows he's a multimillionaire. The very attractive girl knows she's a very attractive girl. It doesn't benefit the person by you just like pointing it out all the time, like, oh, you're so beautiful, da da da, or like, you're so rich. Like, you don't, it's not necessary. And that's, I think, what people appreciate. It's like, um, I know for me, like, I'm neither a multimillionaire or a strikingly attractive uh, woman. I mean, so it doesn't make me like, I'm counting on the fact that being an authentic person has value because that's what I'm able to uh, extract value from, and that's why the world's cool because you have an opportunity to change and you have an opportunity to increase your value as a person, and you're not just whether or not you won like the genetic lottery or whether or not you won like the financial lottery or you were like you know made good business decisions, or you just like worked hard for your money, like, and all those things are great. But you can also do other things that are important, like just work on yourself or improve your own like presence and your own congruence. Okay, so that's the video for today. Feel free to check out the one I put out yesterday. I'm going to try to put out some more videos, maybe not every day, but once a week, something like that. And check them out. Peace out.